Hey y'all, this is Allie Spears, your host of the Ag Chicks podcast, where I cultivate connections with the women who are helping feed the world. Today's episode is with Jacee May. Jacee May grew up on a seed stock cattle operation in Stillwater, Oklahoma that her family still manages today. She started being involved on the family operation at a young age by exhibiting her bred-and-owned Angus cattle on the county, state, and national levels. She's a fourth-generation cattle producer. After graduating high school, she accepted a livestock judging scholarship to Blackhawk College in Illinois, and her national champion team was coached under the hands of Dan Hoge and Arnold. After judging on the JuCo circuit, Jacee went back to her Oklahoma roots and graduated from the Oklahoma State University in 2014. She currently works for Corteva Agrisciences as a range and pasture specialist covering Alabama, Mississippi, and the Florida Panhandle. She's rewarded daily in her role to help families like her own be profitable on their own cattle operations by making the best decisions to grow more forage. Okay, well, what is this now, our third, fourth attempt, I feel like?
Yes, we got it.
Oh man, nothing like technology issues to start the day off, right?
Exactly. I mean, wouldn't be, a day in life if we didn't have it.
Exactly. I know technology makes things easy, but man, can it make things difficult too?
Yes.
Well,
I love it.
I'm very excited to chat with you today, Jacee. And so for those of you who are listening, I'm sitting down with Jacee, and you would have just kind of heard her bio and introduction. And so we're just going to kind of get right into it. And so Jacee and I met, what was it now?
Houston NCBA, whenever they had the second NCBA. It was, was it February or no?
Yeah, I think it was February. Yes. Would that have been of 22, I guess? 22.
Yep, 22.
So we met at NCBA. That was my first NCBA conference, I'm pretty sure. My first
It was?
Yeah, I was.
You acted like you have been doing the knowledge rooms for like your whole life. Like I couldn't have known.
Thank you, because I was so nervous to be there. And then especially when like Rachel sat down next to me, and then the other couple, I was like, oh my gosh, like somehow my name got put in this shuffle by accident.
No, you did great. I was like, man, she's an old pro.
It was fun. And so just again, kind of for those of you who are listening, so Jacee and I met there and kind of connected just kind of based off of our similar but different scenarios and stories, and just being kind of young women in the industry. And so I knew that I wanted to have you on for season 4. So thank you for joining me. I can't wait to kind of talk more about you.
Yeah, Allie, I'm so thrilled to be here talking with you and to be a part of your podcast. Honestly, this is something I've really always wanted to do. So I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Is this your first podcast?
Yeah.
Yay. I love when I get to be people's firsts.
My first. Yeah. This is awesome.
Well, welcome. And we're excited to have you. So, Jacee, why don't we kind of talk a little bit about kind of growing up? I know you're from Oklahoma. Yeah. So where exactly in Oklahoma are you from?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Stillwater, so where Oklahoma State is. Go Pokes, got to give a shout out. But yeah, I grew up on a seed stock operation, cattle operation there that my family still manages today. It's really changed since, I was at home. I was able to be a part of the family operation at a young age by showing my bred-and-owned Angus cattle herd really across the country. Obviously was real involved locally with forage and FFA, and then going to junior nationals in the summer, which you showed Herefords, right?
I did show Herefords, but I also showed Angus. And so
yeah, I think you mentioned that. I think maybe we talked about that at NCBA. Yeah,
and we were trying to figure out, I think I know you're a little bit older than me, but when if we would have crossed paths potentially at junior nationals, because we potentially
could. I bet we did. We just didn't even know it.
I know, right? Especially because when I saw you and when I heard your name, I was like, I feel like I know your name. But I don't know if would you have gone to I don't know what year it was, but junior nationals in Denver for Angus?
Yes, in 2010, I think, that long ago.
I know. Oh my gosh, what is that? 13 years? Holy cow.
I know. Yeah, that probably would have been that was when I was graduating high school, and that's kind of when I stopped showing. I went on to college, after my high school career, and I actually I had a livestock judging scholarship to Blackhawk, which is in Illinois. So I was fortunate enough to, you know, be coached by some really impressionable people like Dan Hoge and Brian Arnold. And that was like such a interesting experience for me from because I mean Blackhawk's like 12 hours away from where I grew up. And
Right.
I've traveled a lot to different shows with my family, like obviously junior nationals, but like Denver and Louisville and different things. And I guess I didn't realize how much growth I would experience moving that far away from home. And I knew, and there's good judging schools in Oklahoma, but I knew I was going to come back to Oklahoma State. So I was
Mhm.
like, hey, why don't I give this a try? And I'm not going to lie to you, my first few weeks there, it was hard,
Right.
being so far away from my family and not feeling like I had a lot of people to rely on that way. But it really pushed me into like who I am today, I think, and being more willing to like take risks and know that I'll be okay. But
Right.
I'm good friends there and learned a lot. Obviously, it was neat to network with different livestock, cattle, hog, sheep producers up in the Midwest. I had know a lot of had grown up around a lot of those folks in Oklahoma, and just showing on a national level is you get to know a lot of these folks. But it was so neat to see how people run their operations and really connect with the folks like that. And I also have family that lives up north, so in Wisconsin, so I was able to I have cousins that are close to my age, so I was able to spend a lot of time with them too, because I was closer. So it was a really neat
Right.
experience. And then I knew, well, I was kind of, I won't say I was forced, but I'm a third generation cowgirl. So, my whole family basically went to Oklahoma State. So I just have been, since I was a little girl, known that's kind of what I wanted to do. And I studied ag communications there, and I was a part of the like College of Ag ambassador program,
Mhm.
and then I also was a tour guide. So that was a really cool way to meet families in a broader sense on a tour that morning, and then like later that afternoon be able to really hone in on agriculture and the College of Ag as a whole with that same family that I gave a tour to earlier that day. Like that was really neat.
Yeah, that's I think a very unique experience. Obviously, so like for me, I work in recruiting a lot
Yeah.
for my real job at Texas A&M. And I think that's one of my favorite pieces is being able to kind of, show them all of the great things about the school, but then really get to dive deeper kind of at different levels and build relationships, because I think that's at the end of the day, we're all kind of in the business of relationships, whether you're selling cattle or selling chemicals
College.
or whatever, like
Yeah.
we're that's really the kind of the business that we are all in some aspect.
Yeah. And the good thing is agriculture is still a people relationship business,
Yes.
and I think it always will be. But after school, I was fortunate enough to start a job with Dow Agrisciences. And I with when you start, it's kind of fun, I guess, in a way, because it's kind of scary too, because you don't know where they're gonna put you like right off the bat. So you work as a sales trainee where you work under a sales person to gain experience, which was really amazing because I got put in the North Delta of Arkansas, which they grow a lot of rice, cotton, sorghum, obviously grain, corn,
Right.
and beans too. So it's a big learning curve going from I've been around farms before. I grew up on a cattle operation, but being really immersed in row crop culture, and I would say that really pushed me to want to be more involved in just the day to day of ag and helping folks be more profitable on their operations. But I mean, girl, I've never seen a rice field before, so you can just imagine like the learning curve I was in. And then when a range and pasture territory came open, I was grateful and was like, yes, would love to work on that side of the business. And I love that Dow and now Corteva, they call it a, they call sorry, they call it it's not a trainee anymore. It's an associate territory manager.
Okay.
Sorry, it's been a while. So the cool thing about that role is you get to really learn the business. They give you the opportunity to learn. Like, I didn't know about the products I sell now, or what, how many different weed species there are in pastures before, right. And I love that they give you a grace period or time to learn to be able to be successful. So I started working here in Alabama now in 2015, and I've been here ever since. But I cover Alabama, Mississippi, and the panhandle of Florida for Corteva, selling range and pasture products. So some of the main products I sell are DuraCore, Graze on Next, Remedy. Those are just a few things that, I'm helping sell down here. And I would say I love this job because it's more of a support type role. Right. I feel like I'm really getting to help impact these landowners and ranchers' bottom line with our products. It's not just, I don't, being able to explain it to someone like my family, why they, should use our products has been really fun and rewarding for me. Being able to give them 45 more days of, grazing with application of a residual herbicide like DuraCore is a big deal, especially when commodity prices are like they are. And, it's just, we're always watching that bottom line. I think being able to really help people understand that has been really fun for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, kind of exactly what you just said. I think when people think about agriculture, right, and I'm guilty of this too, from a kind of base level, we're talking about farmers and ranchers, but there's so many different aspects of the industry that really, like you said, are the support system to the farmers and ranchers to be able to allow them to do their job. And so individuals like yourself and companies like Corteva are really, without that, farmers and ranchers could not do their job. And they're allowing them to, like you said, kind of be able to extend time in pastures, therefore, saving feed costs on, potentially feeding hay or grain or whatever the situation may be, and just trying to really help to make sure that the best products are being put out for end consumers as well. And so I think a lot of times the chain link of kind of what you do gets overlooked and not thought about, but really you're a vital piece of the system as well.
Thank you. Yeah, when I first came into this role, obviously it was another big learning curve because the weeds we have in Oklahoma are very different than the ones we have here in Alabama. And, sure. Very grateful for the folks who took a chance on me and really helped me understand, what I'm looking at, and giving me, the confidence to work, to work and help folks. There's 100 different weed species that can be in a pasture. And, in row crops where I immediately was before, there's 5 different ones that everyone struggles with, Palmer pigweed, mare's tail, morning glory, that you're going to have in a corn or bean field. But in a pasture, you're going to have, briars, dog fennel, ironweed, you name it, thistles. And so, just being able to help people identify the problem and then hey, you're not just making this look aesthetically pleasing, you're actually bringing a whole nother, couple months of extended grazing time for these cattle here. Or maybe it's people don't realize, oh, I could add a whole nother, couple more cow-calf pairs to this pasture after I spread it. I don't have to sell them or whatever, buy more land. So it's really taking the assets our farmers and ranchers are, wanting to work toward and make it better. If you're looking to make realistic life changes and wanting someone to help you with learning and maintaining consistency, Megan is your gal.
Megan doesn't believe health and fitness should be a one-size-fits-all approach, and therefore is dedicated to creating a plan that is best fit for your goals and needs. Every workout plan is custom written to meet your goals, schedule, gym, or at-home workout needs, and comes with weekly check-ins and email support. Additionally, she also has limited spots available for FaceTime training sessions. Visit megannicolefitness.com today to kickstart your health journey.
And I mean, there's a piece of education too, right, that you play in terms of all of that. Obviously, you're selling products, but you have to be able to educate them in order for them to understand why they may need those products.
Yeah, this job, if anything, has made me realize sales, marketing, whatever you want to call it. I feel like it's just simplifying the message to bring value to the field and just raising awareness to, create a sale for, Corteva or retailer, whoever. But people want to buy from people.
Yes.
And if you're not able to explain why it's valuable to Jim, who's a 65-year-old rancher who's been doing this his whole life, you're not going to get on that acre. And so I try to look at it as more of not everyone, but a lot of the goal here is to help people like my family. And because of that passion I have, I think that really just gets me going. And, there's days that are really hard. I mean, I'm not going to lie, Allie, I've had some hard weeks, but I continue to wake up in the morning and want to, do the best I can for the people who are providing for everybody, the ranchers that are feeding the world. So,
yes. And I think going back a little bit kind of to your background as well, I guess my first question would be, did you always know you wanted to go back into agriculture as a career when you were determining things?
Yes, I always knew I wanted to work with the people who've helped me along the way, and it's really cool too to be able to give back, even to the folks who helped me maybe with a speech contest at the junior Angus show, junior nationals, or my ag teachers, or just different people, my dad, my family along the way. I feel like I'm being able to give back to them in this role, through this role. And but yeah, I guess to answer your question, I always knew I wanted to be an ag, but I just didn't know exactly how I would fit there. So I thought I wanted to do maybe more publication work with a livestock magazine or something like that. And I really enjoy that kind of work, but I never thought I wanted to do sales. If you would have asked me if I wanted to do sales, I would have been I don't know, I'd rather do, maybe more PR behind the scenes things. But like I said, this job is not your traditional sales role. I mean, it is sales, but it is more marketing and building, value propositions and segmenting your customers out, and just really knowing how these products work for the end user. And a lot of it is teaching my retailers this and helping them feel confident and comfortable explaining this to their ranchers and growers.
Right. And so, yeah, no, I think that makes sense, because you kind of answered my next question in terms of, did you ever see yourself in sales? And so, and I think too, a lot of times, right, we end up in places we don't necessarily see coming or plan for, but those are sometimes kind of the best turns that we take in life. But in addition to that question and kind of thought line there, do you think that the things that you did growing up prepared you in a way you maybe didn't expect to be successful in your career, I guess?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I mean, I was talking to my dad the other day, and I was I'm so glad that, at the time I probably was not glad that I had to do this all summer, wash my heifers and, chores and everything while my friends were on vacation or whatever it was. But I'm so glad that I did that, because now I feel just overall, not saying the other spectrum of that is not good or whatever.
Right.
I'm a more well-rounded individual. And yeah, I mean, just growing up in ag, it prepares you for so many things. And I would say even like adversity and just challenges that I run into, being able to work with people.
Right.
I guess I probably didn't realize that being around older people, in the cattle industry, you're around
Right.
a lot of the breeders and and people our age, but also older folks. I'm like, I've been able to carry a conversation with people, like my dad's age since I was, 4 or 5. And I
Exactly.
think like those are things that are kind of go unnoticed until you're in a role like this, and you're like, wow, I mean, my customers really respond well to me. I guess that's because of this, and you
Mhm.
just kind of realize you have these qualities that maybe weren't really thought about before.
Right. No, exactly. Well, even just kind of listening about you talking about livestock judging and everything, and I'm thinking about myself too a little bit here.
Yeah, we're similar.
We are similar. And I guess I mean, I knew we were similar and we talked about a lot of our commonalities too before, but, just being able to give a set of reasons, right? I mean, you're basically selling your thought process. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of something that you probably have to do on a fairly daily basis. And then, giving tours to people and connecting with people, that's probably something that you're doing on a daily basis too. And just, it's funny to think about life in terms of all of these different things that you've done, all of these different experiences that you've had. And in the moment, you're not thinking like, oh, this is going to help me for my
Yeah,
career. Or, you know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah, you're not like, oh yeah, I mean, I did think that with livestock judging, I
Right.
guess, because I was older whenever I made that decision. But yeah, when you're younger, you don't think, oh, this little experience is really going to shape out to be a pivotal thing for me, in my career. So yeah, you're exactly right. And I would say another thing, and I mentioned this earlier, is like people want to do business with people, and that is still a quality that is never in the ag industry anyway, will never go away, no matter how technical things get or how much digital things are getting. It's always going to be a people business, and I think that's also why I'll always be a part of agriculture, not just with my family's operation, but in this realm, because of that. And I think that's just so important.
No, I totally agree. And because we live in a digital world, and because I think, I mean, you are right on the spot there in terms of, I think agriculture, like you said, will always be a people business, no matter how technologically advanced we get. And I don't know if some of the other industries will keep that mindset as things move
Exactly.
forward. But do you think because, like, I guess what's my question here? Do you think because agriculture is so people based, like, how do we keep that as things are evolving and, it's so much easier to send somebody a text than give them a phone call or whatever. And that's a big question that I realize I'm asking you now, but
Yeah, I was like, hey, Allie.
it's
I don't have, this is just my thoughts on it. I
right.
don't know if it's the right answer, but I think people like um, you and I who were raised, around it, but staying in it. I know a lot of families, or a lot of folks, they may have other aspirations, and that's great. But I think keeping people who are around it, in it, and then I think people like you and I encourage others to join who maybe haven't had the pleasure to grow up that way or be around it as much. I think they think, oh wow, like that's really interesting. I think you have to be open and just good personality, good person to get the other people to see, wow, this is a great industry. I want to be a part of this.
Yeah. No, I think you're right there. And I think that's probably a task maybe our parents and their parents really didn't have to think about too much. But I think as there's probably a little bit more generational shift going on maybe now than there has been in the past, I think that's a task that we are gonna have to focus on a little bit.
It's going to
Um,
be a big task for us, and to just continue to be open with the people who may not understand where their food comes from, or just being open with those people and being able to tell our stories in a way that they understand. I think that's a big deal too, and I think to keep it like that, you've got to have people who are willing to pick up the phone and talk. I mean, that's a great example, but just uh show that we are a unit, be unified within the ag spectrum.
Yes. And I think so, I guess it's been 2-3 weeks now. I went to Denver to kind of do the trailblazer training at the NCBA office, and we were talking a lot about the beef community. And I had a thought while I was sitting there is we as an industry, when we're talking to consumers, we talk about ourselves as the agriculture industry. But when we're talking to each other, we break ourselves up into the different segments that we are, which very logical, right? But also it's almost like when we're talking to outsiders, we're trying to paint this really cohesive picture, but then when we look inside a little bit deeper, we're not quite as cohesive. And so it's kind of trying to figure out how each section of the industry can be represented to a factual way that they really are in terms of the reality and the processes and procedures and the people that they are within those different aspects. But also, how do we get all of those different facets to come together to really be that united front too? And that's something I don't know if anybody has the answer to. But
yeah, it's like, Allie, we would be millionaires if we had that all figured out. But I think it's just being open-minded, being respectful of others, and just really trying to understand their side of the industry too.
Yeah. And I think that's something that maybe we don't always do a great job of is, I know how I do things on my operation, but I can't tell you what Jim does down the street. And we are so busy in agriculture too, to where we don't necessarily have the time to go figure out those things. And maybe we don't need to, and maybe that's kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent as well. But I think it's important that we get the younger generation involved, just exactly like what you said, as things are changing and people are phasing out. And I think it's special for both of us that we are generational. I'm fourth generation, you're third generation, and we still want to be involved. And so I think that's something that's unique and special. And I think also us as women wanting to be involved in this industry is something that's encouraging.
Yes, it is. No, I agree with you. And I think that's, why it's important to, network and get involved. And, that's, I say this and, we get so caught up in, our jobs, our personal lives, that sometimes it's hard to like make time to go to NCBA or, even just your local cattlemen's meeting or young farmers or whatever it is. But, if I could give any piece of advice, is just get involved, just go try to make an impact. And with that, I think that helps grow our industry to be more united too.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And that's something that even personally I'm trying to be better at is like you said, like we have so much going on. Everybody has so much going on, but really trying to focus on some of the little stuff. And I think too, that's where some of these really important connections can happen too, is where, you're at NCBA and you sit down at lunch with Jacee May and you make a friend, you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
You're on my podcast. So
I love it. Yeah. I think we just got to continue doing stuff like that, and to not, as, things become more digital and, we want to feel the urge to just like, oh, I got stuff to do at home and this and that. I think being able to do just what you just mentioned is so important.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jacee, as our time is kind of coming to an end here, I want to thank you for being a guest, and I hope that this was not too painful for your first time. I really appreciate you kind of taking time to sit down and chat with me today. But as we're wrapping up, is there anything, I know you said some really great words of wisdom throughout the entire episode today, but anything you would maybe suggest to somebody who, you know what, I'm going to change this a little bit, because we are both women that have moved away from our family operations. And I know we've both talked about how that's challenging, but also rewarding in a sense. And so what is something maybe you would say to someone thinking about leaving home to pursue something, just kind of based off of your experiences?
I'll it's hard to put just one thing together. So I guess I have a couple things to say. So when I was leaving, I remember telling my dad, like, hey, I want to be involved and on our operation, but this job is calling me here. And I remember his words of encouragement were, you know, that's why they make planes, trains, and cars. You know,
Right.
he's like, we'll be here, come visit. He's like, but as, you know, to contribute to the operation, you know, I think he was very encouraging to go get other, go bring something back home that can help, you know. And I think that's one part of the deal. And the other part is start before you're ready. I think that's a really big thing that we all are. Sometimes I felt like before I would get caught up in, well, it just has to be perfect before I want to do this. But start before you're ready. You'll learn along the way because you're never going to be ready. And if it doesn't work out, you can always, if you want, go back home or find something different. But start before you're ready.
Yes, I think that is such a valuable piece of advice that people don't talk about enough, honestly. Because
Yeah, I think we all get caught up in like in our heads a little bit about, well, it has to be this way or it has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to go and do it, you know, go and try it. If you don't try, you'll never know.
Exactly. Well, Jacee, again, thank you so much. If
You
anybody,
this.
what was that?
I said I've loved visiting with you. I've loved this. It's fun.
Yes, absolutely. We need to do this more. In person, not virtually, obviously.
Yes.
But if somebody is wanting to connect with you, what is the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, so they can shoot me an email if they want to do that at may.jacee@gmail.com. And my name, I guess, is in the notes for how that is spelled.
Yes.
Or you can follow me on Instagram at Jacee May.
Perfect. And like she said, all of that information will be in the show notes. And thanks so much for spending time with me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Allie. It's so nice to visit with you, and I hope I get to see you soon.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Ag Chicks. Don't forget to follow along on social media at Ag Chicks for more agricultural related content, and also be sure to check out your favorite podcast here from www.agchicks.net. We'll see you next time.